It's time for a change in Los Angeles. Let's get into it. The Chargers were 7-4 last year in one-score games, and this year they're 2-3. In the Justin Herbert era, the Chargers have won 27 games. 14 of those happen to come from a game-winning drive from Justin Herbert. The problem here is Brandon Staley. He gets praised for being aggressive when he got hired and being analytically driven. It just doesn't lead to wins in the way that the NFL and the NFL quote-unquote nerds would like it to. Brandon Staley is supposed to be this guru on defense as well, and the Chargers' defenses just get destroyed, to be quite frankly. We've seen it last night. Yes, the game was only 2017, but Dallas found ways to continue to put pressure on the defense in the first quarter and the fourth quarter. The Chargers also this past year took Quentin Johnson, and while yes, it's still early in his career, they took him based on his athletic ability and his height, and he never played true to his height in college. I don't know why Chargers thought he was going to in the NFL. Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers were still on the board as well. And could you imagine those two guys in these offenses? They're killing it where they landed, but could you imagine Justin Herbert throwing the ball to Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison in this offense? The Chargers' plan since drafting Justin Herbert has basically him needing to be Superman in order for them to win games or just be in games. Last night, Herbert did not play a great game. You could argue it was the worst game of his career. But in those instances, you would expect the Chargers coaching staff and the roster around Herbert to pick up and go for the win. Justin Herbert's picked up this roster and this organization so many times, you would expect, or at least hope, that they could do it one time for him. Herbert did not look great last night, but Herbert is one of the most fun young quarterbacks to watch in the league. The Chargers have to do something, whether that be change the head coaching spot and find someone this offseason. They did bring in Kellen Moore in the offseason to be the new play caller. We've kind of seen how that went last night. It's been some up and downs early on in the season. It hasn't led to a lot of success and a lot of wins yet, as we are still early in the year. So we have a whole season still see how it goes with Kellen Moore as the main play caller for Justin Herbert and this Chargers team. Austin Eckler, they really could not get the run game going, and Herbert kept finding Keenan Allen. Josh Palmer stepped up, had a nice game, but there's just something with this Chargers team. For whatever reason, they can never get over that hump. Last year in the playoff game, blowing the huge lead to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I would really like to see Eric Bieniemy with this Chargers team. With the weapons, we've seen what he did in Kansas City, and he wasn't getting the respect that he deserved as their play caller. So he goes to Washington, and we see what he's doing with a very less talented skills group compared to what he had in Kansas City. Eric Bieniemy with this offense would put up electric numbers, and they would be a force in the playoffs every single season. Bieniemy would be able to get his guys opens, and it would be by far the best head coach that Herbert has had, even though it's just been Brandon Staley, but Eric Bieniemy, being in the Andy Reid coaching tree and now learning under Ron Rivera, who is a longtime coach, I imagine Washington moves on from Rivera and offers Bieniemy the head coaching job after the season. But if I'm the Chargers, I do anything it takes to get Eric Bieniemy on the sidelines with Justin Herbert. Also, another thing the Chargers got to do is get the defense figured out. Yes, they have big names, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't mesh well together. Also, their special teams has kind of been atrocious. We know about the history of the early 2010 Chargers, great offense, great defense, bad special teams, missed the playoffs. This Chargers team has to get those phases of the football figured out. Khalil Mack has been really good this year. Joey Bosa has had his moments, but he's not what he's being paid to be. Derwin James has kind of just turned into a jag, just another guy. Asante Samuel Jr. is really good, and Kenneth Murray is a really good linebacker as well. But they just got to figure out something, rather be bringing in some veterans or moving these guys for some draft picks and bringing some young talent in as well. Chargers got to get this figured out. NFL fans everywhere are waiting for them to figure out, just because we like good quarterback play, and Justin Herbert and the Chargers being good means we see more of Herbert, more good quarterback play. Chargers making the playoffs is good for the sport. It's good for everybody. But I just don't think this year they're going to be headed back to the playoffs. That's my preseason prediction. I didn't have them in the playoffs. And the way it's looking, they can't win these close one-score games this year like they could last year, kind of similar to what's happening to the Minnesota Vikings. I do think the Chargers have to make a coaching change in the offseason. I don't think Brandon Staley survives another season. It's just a matter of who do they bring in to pair with Herbert. That is $1 million question, and that is what this front office and the ownership group has to figure out, is who can they bring in to help Justin Herbert reach that level of superstar status and get these Chargers back into the postseason on a consistent and regular basis. The Chargers are set up perfectly. They're in LA, perfect weather. They have the quarterback and they have the offensive weapons. They just got to get the defense figured out. And I imagine that is on their to-do list this offseason. As always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and turn post notifications on. And let me know down in the comments, do you think Brandon Staley's fired after the season if the Chargers miss the playoffs?